Hey lads, ladies, a couple of guys are having trouble getting the airbox out of the bikes. So we're going to take the carbs out of this old girl. So we'll just go through and step by step and we'll pull them, show how we remove it. So ultimately, first up, we've got to take whatever bolt holds the top of the airbox on. So sometimes it's a bolt. This particular bike is an Allen key. I haven't had this bike apart, so we'll have a look whether we need to remove it completely. No, we don't need to remove it completely because the hole on the bracket is still there. So it normally that bolt sits over that hole. We have two 10mm bolts, 10s or 8s. Let's grab an 8. And hold the back of the box on, hold the back of the airbox. They get removed, and the brackets, there's supposed to be a little box hanging off that one, and of course you've got one on the other side, on the other fuse box, so we'll just rip him out as well. Righto. We leave that. Obviously, we've got to take the air filter off the bottom. You can't leave the air box on the bottom. So that's this piece. Just use the 4 screws. Just undo the 4 wing nuts on the bottom, and that'll pop off. Just drop out. A pair of pliers. You've got a vacuum, for whatever another word, a breather out of your engine. Comes off your oil splitter there, and that just, with the engine running, that just creates a vacuum in here and just takes all the pressure out of the underneath of your motor. So the easiest way is just to take that off, because it does get in the road because it's such a thick and a heavy hard plastic pipe. So you take that out of there, take him off the top. You may need different screwdrivers to get that off. Just to get him off the air pipe, get him off the airbox, because it is going to be in the road, trying to get your other air through, get your carburettor out of the road. So take that out of there. On the standards, it'll get hooked up on the idle. Or you can just leave it there loose. At least it'll be out of the road then. You need to go through and take your clamps off your velocity stacks. Now, if you've got nice straight ones that haven't been busted and bent and pushed around, move them to the back and do them up again. Bit of mucking around, but what it does, it gets them away from where your carburetors are coming through with all these. If you leave them on here, when you pull your carburetors out, all these get bent and move around, and you'll end up bending all your clamps up. So just when you pop them off, slip them right out of the road and against the back. I'll just pause it for a minute. Alright, same again on the intakes, manifolds. Undo them. Get them loose. Sometimes they'll stick. There you go. Open them up so that you can get them down onto the manifold, intake manifold. Do them back up again. Keep them out of the road. Just so they don't move, that's all. Go through and find them. They're a bit of a pain in the bum. I'll show you a way I use them to get at them a lot easier when we finished. Righto, so we got both ends of your clamps taken off. Fuel lines are off. We're going to take your breather pipes off they just go to help the carburetors breathe. These ones come off as well. The road, one on the side, obviously. There. And last but not least, need to pop your vacuum advance line off. That can be a little bit tricky, depends how long they've been on there for. There you go, let's pop that off. Righto, here comes the struggle. What you normally try and want to do, what I try and normally want to do, is get this bracket that's on top that we've undid first. We need to get it underneath the frame. So we need to push it forward and down a little bit so we can get it underneath there. And then we pop that off, and then the air box is free of the carburetors. That'll just hangle and dangle a little bit. You can then quite easily move grab your oil breather pipe and pop it out of the road. And it'll go in later. And then it's just a matter of lifting, if that's sitting down like that, you lift your carburetors up and out, and they come out like that. Grab hold of your throttle cable. There's that out there. And there you go. Carburetors removed. So I'll turn around and do what I've got to do, and then we'll put them, fitting them back in again. While we've got it apart, check your rubber stacks, your velocity stacks, for suppleness. If they can still move around a little bit, they'll be fine, but sometimes they'll be rock hard, and then the easiest way to get them unrock hard is grab mum's hairdryer out of the bathroom and soften them back up again, make them easier to put back on again. So just check that while you've got it all out. So before we go and put them back in again, as you've worked out by now, pulling them out, it is really hard. You can get the outside clamp, but working out where the inside one is, it can be a pain. So you're the only bloke that's going to be working on this bike. Take the inside ones off, turn them around and put them up the right way. Put them up where you can get at them and you can see them. It just saves a lot of hassle down the track. It's not in the rate of anything, not in the rate of operation carburetor, in your carburation opening of your butterflies or anything. It's not in the rate of anything. Same again with the back ones, even do the back ones as well. And it's only going to be you that's going to notice, and maybe a purist if you've got any in your area, but that's what I do with all of mine. It just makes it so much easier to get at as later on. So I'll go through and do the other two as well before we put the carburetors on, and then we'll throw them back in again. Alright, so throttle cable, feed it into the bracket where it goes, like so, pop it up. Now make sure that sits inside. That's half a lot of problems. Blokes will put them in and they'll catch, and when you start it up, it goes straight to 5.5, that's 7,000 RPM. That's why. Make sure that is home, down hard inside, and you'll have a lot less hassles. So it's just a matter of feeding your carburetors back in through again, down into your throat, grab at the back of it, elbow on your bike, wobble and push them until they're home. Piece of cake. Work out which way your hose went on. Don't know that it really matters. I think that went on the bottom because it was where the pliers are. Feed that up back up through where it goes. Probably easier to do that now than later. Maybe. Sort of needs to go. Just make sure you bring the clamp with it when you come up, otherwise you are really going to be having troubles. So bring that clamp with you, up on top, just leave it hang loose, that's all right. Now, all your lines and everything are out. Bring your back up. You need to bring this framework that's here, this bracket that's here where we unload, you need to bring it back up over the top of the framework so it sits where it sits, and then feed your velocity stacks back on. Now that can be a little bit challenging, or it can be relatively simple, like so. So we know these are going to fit. So these ones are the ones that are going to be the trouble. So to go through and undo them again, now that they're out of the road. Now, if you look nice and close, we've got a small stopper here, and there'll be a small stopper on the other side of the throat. The end of your velocity stack has to sit hard up against that. Because if you've got a gap that sits like that, you do your clamp up, all you're going to do is end up unshaped, pulling out of shape your actual bell on the end of your velocity stack, and you will actually end up pulling your airbox off your carburetors over time. So make sure that your stacks sit hard up against that, even to the point when you get them, nip them up, just so you can still move your clamp, up inside with your hand and grab hold of the velocity stack and actually push it onto the carburetor, doing off a little bit more. Then get a flat blade screwdriver and push it forward onto the front edge of your gap of the velocity stack. And what that does, it will ensure that your clamp is done up on the back of your throat on your carburetor. Not half of the clamp is hanging out in mid-air, and only a little tiny bit is getting hold of the carburetor. You don't need to do them up super tight, just so they grab hold. That's all you need. So move your hoses out of the road, and then the one that you've had before, you spun around, you can get at him plain as day and you can see what you're doing. All the fuel hoses, but just flick them out of the road. It's a lot easier to get to them. Choose you which way you want to run your screwdriver. Do him up so you can sort of move him a bit. Hand up inside of the velocities, onto the end of the velocity stack. Push it forward. Do him up a little bit more. Grab your flat blade screwdriver, push the clamp to the front like we did on the other one. Get underneath 3 points or something, whatever you reckon, and then nip him up again. Not super tight, you don't have to go super tight with it. And that's it. And it's just a matter of doing the other two sides. Turn him off for a sec. Alright, so having changed your clamps around, it's a mile easier to get to that screw there. You can see what you're doing, and there's just no issue of tearing your hair out trying to get hold of it. While you're there, might as well put your vacuum, your timing helmet back on. It's all good. Fuel lines are out of the road. put your big breather back on. Take a bit of doing. Which way he's coming in. The standards, you've got the idle in the wrong spot, so it can take a bit of doing to get that back on. If it's a big hose, you can give it a bit of a hiding without too much worrying about whether you're going to split it or not. You got it the right way around, I guess. What you might do is just unmove this clamp out of the road a little bit for a second. The bolt might be in the road, touch that a little bit. There you go. It's got him on. Do that back up again. Make sure you do the other ones first. Make sure you get that all right first. Because you disturbed it from when you done it up. Put your clamp back on him. All good. Back on the bottom. Clamps up. Good harness. And just small bolt holes in here. Just run them back in there. With moving your velocity stakes by hand, you'll find that this bolt, more than likely, is hard up against the front of the framework anyway. So it's just a matter of holding him forward and just nip him up. Same again on the other side. Whatever we did with that. What did we do with that? Anyway, bolt's gone. So now, depending, this frame has obviously had a bit of had a hiding, and it won't reach where it's supposed to reach. So if you to turn around and bring it back to where it'll go, like that's a lot of stress and strain, which is why old mate would have had it just here. I don't know. There we go. Let's try and that's a fair amount of whack out of. There we go. It's had a hiding by the look of it. Alright, there we go. It's just out of shape. You can even get that in there. I'm going to do that. Yeah. And that alright, it is very important that you put these lines back on. They're a little bit long actually, but very important you put those on, because inside that spigot there's a tiny hole, and if you don't have these on, if you put a small filter on these for argument's sake and leave them off, you have to put a plug over this little spigot. It just makes the world of difference to the running of the bike. If you left that spigot open, you'll know about it. So put those breather pipes back on the carburetors. From the carburetors to the airbox. And there you have it. Except for the one missing bolt that I'll have to find. But apart from probably a couple of minutes of just pausing the video so you weren't watching boring bolts being undone and done up and all that type of thing, that's the length of time it takes to put an airbox in. We want to finish it off. Move your pipe out of the road. Sit your pipe out of the road. That sits under there. And then you just do them up. Just by hand when they're done up. Bolt just fell out of there. So that's it. So shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes to pull that airbox out of there. Take that out, pull your carburetors out. It's a 5-minute job. Righto.